Right, Ed, so 2 massive shows coming up on the Dazn Matchroom schedule. I'll start first with Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, the undisputed lightweight title, Madison Square Garden, New York. So much on the line for both fighters. Who do you think, going into this contest, has the most pressure?
Probably Katie, because I feel like she's had pressure her whole career. I feel like Amanda feels like this is her chance to sort of come in and just steamroll the party, everything she's been working towards for years and years. I think maybe the momentum is with Amanda Serrano right now. You know, the last 2 Katie Taylor performances, solid but unspectacular, and I think a lot of that is down to the challenges that were in front of her. I saw some footage of Katie Taylor in the gym this week. Actually looked like a different animal, looked like ferocious on the pads. You could see she was really training with real intensity, because I think she knows, and I guess that's the case with all fighters, you train almost with a thought of the challenge that's in front of you, and she knows this is the biggest challenge of her career. So I think the pressure, because of, you know, the sort of focus point of women's boxing being always Katie Taylor, has always been with her. There's nothing new, but I think she'll bring something very different to this fight, Katie, compared to her last couple of performances.
Have you, I know you see she looks spiteful in training, have you seen anything different in her demeanour? Is she, you know, the focus, is she relaxed?
Probably more excitement. Like, I think her last 2 fights have been mandatories, and she'll talk at the press conferences very well, and, you know, this is a challenge, but she knew going into those fights, those girls couldn't really beat her. So it's difficult to really train with that kind of ferocity and intensity that you need. I think she has the fear factor with Serrano. I don't think she'd admit it, but I think she knows that if she doesn't perform well, she'll get beat at Madison Square Garden. And everything that she's done throughout her whole career, a bit sad really, but almost comes down to this night.
Well,
I guess that's high-level sport, isn't it?
So they've had tremendous careers, both of them. Whose career do you think this benefits as far as legacy is concerned, the victory?
I think for Katie, it's almost like cementing that legacy. But for Serrano, it's about becoming a true great. Like, I think because of her amateur pedigree, because of what she did with the Olympics, because of, you know, how she's become undisputed, I feel like Katie's legacy is almost set. This is like the icing on the cake. But for Amanda, this is such a huge moment. You know, she hasn't won Olympic gold. She hasn't gone and battled with the IOC, but she's done all the hustling as well. You know, she's been going out fighting for $500 in, you know, small gyms and fighting all around the world to try and get female boxing an opportunity. So for both of them, I think they're just thinking, you know, this is my moment. This is everything, and this is the fight they'll be remembered for. You know, we don't know what's going to happen after this fight, but at this point in their careers, through everything they've done, this is the fight they will always be remembered for. And that means your legacy is on the line. You know, that means your future is on the line, everything. And there's so much pressure in this fight because of the pressure they put on themselves, because defeat would be really hard to take for Katie Taylor, because you'd feel like she's done all of that and then she reaches this iconic moment at Madison Square Garden, what, to lose? You know, and that's why there's so much on the line. But Serrano kind of, I feel like she wants to try and fly under the radar here and sort of say, oh, Katie's the great, and then she's going to come up on the blind side and beat her and then become, like, the fact is, if Amanda Serrano wins, she becomes an icon of women's boxing. Like, not just women's boxing, but a superstar of the game. So there's a lot on the line in so many different ways.
I'm not pushing you for a prediction here, but who do you think goes into the fight as favourite?
Oh, I mean, if you look at the odds, I think with the bookmakers, Serrano is the slight favourite at the moment. And I guess that's down to her last couple of performances. I think Katie's the favourite because I think of her pedigree, her experience, her big time experience as well, her big event experience. Like, we don't know with Serrano. I mean, she boxed on the Jake Paul card, great crowd, but this is a different kind of pressure. I don't think she's going to fold under any pressure, Serrano. I think she's going to thrive. But just looking at Katie at the media day the other day, I just thought she looked razor sharp, and I've not seen that kind of sharpness from her, and bad intentions in her punching, you know. And I haven't seen that from her for a while. I think both lovely individuals. Something just bubbling underneath Katie with this fight. She's felt for a long time that Serrano's avoided her, and there's just a couple of comments, you know, she's won all her titles from vacant belts and stuff like that from Katie. Doesn't really say that, and then Serrano sort of goading her with the 12 threes, trying to embarrass her a little bit. So there is definitely something bubbling inside Katie Taylor. Maybe we'll even see it on Fight Week, but for me, I'm going, of course, for the Katie Taylor victory. And I see a late stoppage in this fight as well.
Really?
I think it's going to be an explosive fight. I think both girls are going to get hit a lot. You know, we've seen every Katie Taylor fight the intensity is thrilling. And Serrano can really punch. Maybe both go down in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised. But I really believe we're going to get a thriller.
Oh, without a doubt. Then we travel over to the other side of America, May 7th, Vegas, for Canelo, Dmitry Bivol. Out of their two fights, who causes the bigger threat to stopping Canelo Golovkin free happening?
Good question. I mean,
Murata.
I think Bivol is a much tougher fight than Murata, but we don't know, how much the inactivity is going to affect Gennady Golovkin. He is 39 now, and although he hasn't been in any tough fights recently, sometimes, it's tough to get your threat freshened, and you're going to Japan, right? In a very ferocious atmosphere. So on paper, Bivol is the much tougher fight, but a lot depends on Gennady Golovkin. I mean, I think that this is a really tough fight for Canelo Alvarez because he's not facing a guy who's a little bit faded or has been stopped before, or he's fighting a really fresh, talented world champion who has been waiting for this opportunity for a long, long time. And technically, Bivol is very, very good. He has very good feet. He can punch as well. He's obviously much bigger than Canelo Alvarez as well. So I actually think that's a really, really tough fight.
And you think it's that size? I mean, look, he's a very good fighter. He had a flat performance, didn't he? You could say.
But again, like Katie Taylor, Bivol's had to go through these three or four fights that he's had recently, defending, but without any excitement to the challenge. Don't forget, he beat Joe Smith convincingly. He's the other world champion. So whether you think Beterbiev or Bivol's better, it's 1 and 2 in the division. So Bivol is 2 or 1, and a lot of people have Beterbiev as number 1. But I just feel that it's technically a difficult fight because Canelo Alvarez, it's not like his work rate is the key, is it? Like we've seen against Saunders, we've seen against Plant. He is winning rounds, but
he breaks you down.
He does, but he breaks you down mentally and with his feet, and obviously with his power and his smart mind. But I just feel that he may have to come from behind in this fight. I think Bivol will start well and start sharp. And
it's just maintaining it.
It is, but when you look at the Kovalev fight, he was behind in that fight, and he knocked him out in the 11th round.
There's never any panic, is there?
No, but that's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
Even when I was watching him fight Saunders, and Saunders is one of those guys, but before you know it, you could be 5, 6, 7 rounds down against Saunders. But he didn't care if he was 5 or 6. He wasn't. But it was quite, I think it was a bit closer than the scorecards had it. But there was never any panic. It wasn't like, oh, we're in round 6 or 7. You bet. It was just, it's coming. It's coming.
You've spent a lot of time with Canelo. It seems to me, as an ex-fighter, I'm watching him, he just oozes confidence.
The confidence is like nothing I've ever seen.
Really?
In a fight. Nothing. Every fighter has doubts. He has 0 doubts. I promise you, not 1% of doubt. No sleepless nights, no worries. No, he just believes he's better than everybody else, and he'll find a way.
What weight would he be coming down from, or do you think he's
I reckon at the moment he's not a million miles away from 175.
Really?
I mean, I guess he goes up to 180, But I think he's probably around that way. It's a big disadvantage fighting at 175 for Canelo Alvarez. I think people sort of tend to forget that. It's not,
huge.
He's a big middleweight, basically. And he's a small 168, or he's a normal 168. He's a very small light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And he's going in against the best in the division.
Yeah.
But it's just honestly now, I've talked to him before, when I spoke to him about when we made the Callum Smith fight, the Billy Joe Saunders fight, I would say to him, this is a tough fight. He would almost laugh at me, and just go, like, Billy Joe Saunders with a ring, with the ring, the conversation. That's, for me, having to go in and tell Canelo Alvarez that we're going to make the ring much bigger for that fight 2 days before the fight. I felt that was a massive disadvantage to him.
Yeah.
He said, no problem. I was like, are you sure? That's absolutely fine, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But,
well, Ed, thank you very much. You can catch both of these live on DAZN. They're going to be crackers.